Dire warnings from China. The U.S. House of Representatives Speaker Nancy Pelosi is currently in Taiwan. Now, Pelosi today said that she comes in peace for the region, even as China gears up for military drills in the region in retaliation. Now, Pelosi met Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen in the presidential palace. President Tsai thanked Pelosi for her unwavering support and awarded her the Order of Propitious Clouds with special grand cordon. Tsai struck a defiant tone, said that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has renewed focus on the security in the Taiwan Strait, but said that Taiwan will not back down.
面对持续且刻意升高的军事威胁，台湾不会退缩，会坚定维护国家主权，坚守民主的防线，同时也希望和全世界民主国家团结合作。 共同维护民主的价值。
Speaker Nancy Pelosi reaffirmed America's commitment to Taiwan's democracy, vowed not to abandon the island nation.
Now more than ever, America's solidarity with Taiwan is crucial, and that is the message we are bringing here today. America's determination to preserve democracy here in Taiwan and around the world remains ironclad.
Earlier, Pelosi visited the Taiwanese parliament, where she met Tsai Chi-shang, the deputy speaker of Taiwan's parliament, where she elaborated on the purpose of her visit.
Our purpose are the three purposes I said, but in doing so, we want to increase interparliamentary cooperation and dialogue. And we do so at a time when our president has put forth an Asian Pacific initiative, which we support, and we want to be specific in terms of how we work with Taiwan in that regard.
Now, her arrival prompted a furious response from China. China considers Taiwan part of its territory and has said that it is willing to use force if needed to bring Taiwan under its control. Chinese warplanes buzzed at the line dividing the Taiwan Strait before her arrival. As her plane touched down on Tuesday, over 20 Chinese military jets entered Taiwan's air defense zone. Within an hour, of her landing, Beijing announced that its army would conduct a series of live-fire military drills in the air and at sea around Taiwan. Now, it warned ships and aircraft not to enter the affected areas. Beijing also summoned the U.S. ambassador to condemn Pelosi's trip. China has also rolled out economic sanctions. It announced curbs on the import of fruit and fish from Taiwan while halting shipments of sand to the island. In response to China's military drills, Taiwan's cabinet announced that the island's military had stepped up their alertness level. Meanwhile, the White House on Tuesday reacted to the developments, saying that the United States was not going to be intimidated by China's threats, and there was no reason her visit should create a conflict, since there was no change in the U.S. policy. The United States also stressed that it supported Taiwan's right to self-defense, but not its independence, thus maintaining status quo.
You're hearing a lot about something called supply chains.
Let me be clear. The Speaker's visit is totally consistent with our long-standing One China policy. We've been very clear that nothing has changed about our One China policy, which is guided, of course, by the Taiwan Relations Act, 3 joint U.S. PRC communiques, and the 6 assurances. We've said that we oppose any unilateral changes to the status quo from either side. We've said we do not support Taiwan independence. And we've said, as I said again yesterday, that we expect cross-strait differences to be resolved by peaceful means.
And for more on this, our correspondent Susan Tehrani has sent us this report. Let's listen in.
With Nancy Pelosi meeting with Taiwan's president and other high-ranking officials, many aspects of this trip is under scrutiny. One aspect is the legacy issue, with Nancy Pelosi expected to retire sometime next year as House Speaker. This trip may have a bookend value. For many years and much of her career, Nancy Pelosi has been a staunch critic of the Chinese Communist Party and a supporter of human rights. Back in 1991, as a young senator, she visited Beijing with a group of lawmakers to unfurl a large banner at Tiananmen Square. The banner back then read, "In support of those who lost their lives for democracy." This trip also is a statement for bipartisan support for the people of Taiwan. Earlier in April, 2 lawmakers, 1 Democrat and 1 Republican, paid a surprise visit to Taiwan, with the House Speaker as the highest-ranking U.S. official to visit Taiwan in 25 years. It brings the issue full circle. Now, whether or not the United States would abandon its policy of strategic ambiguity altogether, well, that's another story. Susan Tehrani reporting from New York for WION World is One.
Now, for more on this, we're being joined by Laurel Kaur, who is a journalist from Denver, Colorado. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. Now, Speaker Nancy Pelosi has sent an unequivocal message that America supports Taiwan. What do you make of this?
I think it's a very strong statement. It's a very bold move on the behalf of Nancy Pelosi. And I think it sends a very strong message to China that the U.S. or part of the U.S. government, at least, is making the boldest move it has since 1997 in supporting Taiwan, in supporting democracy, especially at a time when there is so much geopolitical tension with the Russian invasion of Taiwan. What is slightly conflicting is the fact that the White House has come out to distance itself from the move and has in fact actively discouraged Nancy Pelosi from making this visit. But yet, of course, China is infuriated by this regardless. Right. And this is coming only days after Xi Jinping's call with Joe Biden.
Right. Now, you're right. China is not happy with this decision. Also, Speaker Nancy Pelosi also said that China will not stand in the way of anyone coming to Taiwan. So how do you see the situation playing out going forward?
Well, there are definitely a lot of concerns that this has only accelerated maybe the inevitable conflict between in Taiwan between China and the U.S. Some people are saying that this move was reckless, that it's causing tensions to worsen at a time when Chinese-U.S. relations are already very low, at a time when there are so many concerns, a lot of distraction with the war in Ukraine. So it remains to be seen what China will actually do in response. There's been a lot of military action. Of course, that's a cause for concern, but what will this actually lead to? No one really knows. And the situation with Taiwan has sort of been on the edge and touchy for decades now.
Right. Well, Laurel, thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the news on the move.